A lot of individuals believe that being a gig worker or a delivery driver means that there's no room for you to future proof for your future. Well, I beg to differ, because in today's podcast, we're going to be talking about future proofing and just how much that is totally doable as a gig worker. Last week on The Dash with Ash, I spoke to you lovelies about earning by time when it comes to working for these gig companies, and I mentioned just how much I'm not for that strategy. But the strategy that I am for is the keyword time, and how much that can be of an essence and help you future proof as a gig worker. Before I start talking about the essence of time and how that can truly help you future proof as a gig worker, let's start with the common denominator, and that's always about the money. Now, here's the true story of what I went through after I left TELUS and started doing gig work. Truth be told, I heard the comment of, you can't do that because you can't build for your retirement. You can't build for your future. You won't have a backup option, and you're not going to have benefits. Well, I'm 2 years into this gig, and I'm still rolling. And let me discuss with you how I'm building for my future. The first thing that stood out to me when I left TELUS was the first thing that I ever heard. How could you build a future pension without having a pension in place? And I think people forget that we are the managers and the owners of our own bank accounts. So what I did is I opened up 2 separate RRSPs. Now, the benefit of being the owner of your bank account is you get to decide on the weekly contributions. So I opened one with my main bank with mutual funds so that I can get a little bit back from mutual fund markets. But additionally, I opened a secondary one with my secondary bank, which was just strictly savings. With one, I can control and put more money. And with the other, I could also control and put less money. As gig workers, just as much as any other individual, every day of the week, we have control of our own bank accounts. So it's 100% possible to future-proof, because all you gotta do is open up an account and put your money where you want it. You see, people are quick to assume that because we're delivery drivers or gig workers, we are uneducated about how to manage money, or we have zero money. But let's step back a bit, because growing up, I was never taught how to manage money. I was never taught about proper pension. I was only taught about pension that was provided by companies if you were lucky. Fast forward to now, I know the struggles my parents have went through on pension because they never provided themselves with their own additional pension on top of the company pension. Now, for those wondering, I did receive a company's pension from TELUS, and it's a good one. And I'm not going without doing something with that pension. I'm smart enough. Even though my parents taught me nothing financially speaking, I learned to take that money, transfer it to my own bank account, and lock it away with a GIC that is a 17.5 up to 40% interest back, because otherwise it's just sitting in a non-touchable RRSP with building very, very little interest and giving me no money in return. So since I'm not working for the company anymore, and the company can't contribute to my pension, the bank will. And so because of that, I've learned myself how to future-proof myself, because I've seen the struggles of what my parents have gone through. But of course, as being a gig worker, we are quickly provided with advice that we can't do something. Meanwhile, we're watching other people already going through the struggles by themselves. You want to know what's funny? Me being a gig worker, I have never been so judged, frowned upon, or made fun of for my job title in my life. People laugh and say you don't have experience and you don't have money. But Did you know that I'm probably 10 times more educated than you are? And I say that as a general term, not to that specific person listening. But I'm more educated than the person who's sitting there judging me, because being a gig worker has taught me way more financially about money than anything else could. When I was employed by an employer, the money got deposited into every single column. Stocks with the company, pension with the company, benefits with the company, you name it. I watched the money go, but I didn't really know exactly what was going where. You see your paycheck and you see your net and you're like, oh, well, that's my paycheck and that's how much I get every 2 weeks. But when you are a gig worker or an independent contractor or self-employed, man, do you understand money way more, because you're watching those figures go out. And it's taught me how to manage my money far more than anybody I truly know. Because now I know what it's like to do my own taxes and keep that gas receipt on the side, or the insurance documents, or the interest rates for your car. Anything can pretty much be written off for taxes. But previously, I couldn't, because I work for an employer. So when you work for an employer, it's pretty much set in stone. Unless they make you go and get a new uniform out of your own pocket, there's not much you can cash back on. So my education amongst money has grown significantly compared to anything else. Education is a huge factor in future-proofing yourself. And if anything, since being a gig worker, I've been more educated through books. When it's a spring or a summer day, even if it's those quiet days, I'll put on the apps, go out, windows down, sun in my face, and read a nice book. And one book that has truly helped me spark my interest about financial goals and future proofing is the book called The Psychology of Money. This book helped me realize something I actually went through in the past, but didn't put the puzzle pieces together. In The Psychology of Money, the author talks about the fact that the boomers are struggling because they were basically the experiment of government or company pensions. And basically, they tried out government or company pensions on the boomers and said, you'll be fine. Fast forward to now, they're not. And that's the truth. Because when I was working at TELUS, I cannot explain to you how many times I spoke to a senior that was in dire need of help financially because they relied on these government-regulated or company-regulated pensions that truly never gave them the amounts that they thought that they would gain. A lot of these boomers or seniors believed truthfully in what the government or these companies had to say. They never invested in stocks because of the fear that they would lose their money, not understand how something like the S&P 500 can build over time. They never had TFSAs because TFSAs was brought out later on in life, but you're never too late to save. And what the psychology of money has taught me is that there's value in being a gig worker, because in any time that you can sit down and grab a good educational book and teach yourself more, not only are you in the right place, but you're actually doing something at the right time. Because being a gig worker has gave me that educational factor, because I don't have to worry about taking call after call like I did in a call center and not being able to sit down and educate myself more. But I can actually put time back into myself so that I can better future-proof for my future. When it comes to this whole conversation of future-proofing for your future, as gig workers, I gotta say, in my own opinion, I feel we have the biggest advantage. The struggle sometimes of having less money is, as the expression goes, less is more. So for me, I might rather have less now so I can have more in my future. And rather that's more knowledge or more money, That's completely up to me. Next week on the Dash with Ash, I'm gonna be talking to you, lovelies, about the joys and the not so fun factors of double stacked orders. I'll catch you, lovelies, in the next episode.